that is the theme song to my vlog. Yes, it's still in development, as you can tell. It's a little rough. It's in development. It's called El vuelo de las libélulas, or the flight of the dragonflies. And probably if it ever has words to this song, someday it'll be something ridiculous that will remind you of chicken wings, like alitas doraditas. Yes, because that sounds super poetic. It's Spanish, of course it sounds poetic. Just because it reminds you of chicken wings doesn't mean it's not poetic. I mean, dragonflies have little golden wings. They do. Haven't you seen them? They have little golden wings that shimmer in the sun. I had a dream. The last time I saw dragonflies was in a dream, and in the dream, there was a celebration going on, and children had made projects to be judged, and one group of children had made this giant dragonfly, and it had like moving parts and everything. It was just out of the league of all the other children. In fact, it was nearly disqualified, but at the last minute it was allowed in the competition. And I thought about stealing it. Okay, the weird thing is that this was in a Whole Foods. So the celebration was happening in the parking lot of the Whole Foods. Now, we don't even have a Whole Foods in Roswell, so I don't really know where this Whole Foods was, but yes, there was a celebration happening with children's projects, and the display of children's projects was in the entryway to the Whole Foods, kind of that area with glass that creates almost a greenhouse effect. So there were plants, and there was this dragonfly contraption, and then as I was walking past or away from the dragonfly, so I didn't steal it because I didn't want to be tempted, I just took a picture of it. And as I was walking away from it, two very real life dragonflies flew past me. One was blue and one was kind of reddish orange, and they were big. They were very big dragonflies. And that's it. I don't know what the meaning of that dream is. Oh, that's right. When I looked up close at the dragonflies, they were golden. They were golden dragonflies, and those were the dragonflies that I saw. Anyway, if I had filmed this a little differently, you could have seen my accordion, so I will show you. This is my accordion that I was playing, and it's in my profile picture as well. But yeah, I've been wanting to have a theme song for my vlog. I just, you know, it's in development, and honestly, I'm not a very consistent player on my accordion, so every time I'm going to play it different, and I'm going to play wrong notes, or, I mean, since I made up the song, I guess there are only wrong notes if it just sounds really, you know, bad. And, you know, like if you push the bellows in instead of out, afuera versus dentro, con los fueos, pues, I'm sorry, it sounds really bad sometimes, but, aside from that, you'll never know the difference because I made it up, because it's my song, The Flight of the Dragonflies. Anyway, as I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself, I don't think there was any real meaning to this dream. I have no idea why I had this dream, except that I'm obsessed with dragonflies lately, and that's why my theme song to this vlog is about dragonflies. I just realized I have some of that. Wait, get that. There. Now I don't have the now I changed the lighting pattern, but whatever. Now I don't have the particle board, but you already, you know, who cares, because I'm in this shed. Anyway, it's really cold, and I have the space heater going, and yeah, it's been really cold, so I'm not going to see any real dragonflies, or at least I'm pretty sure I'm not, unless a miracle occurs, which it could happen. But dreams, I'll take dreams. I'll take my dragonfly dreams. I don't think it's meaningful. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk a little bit about, I had a whole bunch of dreams and visions last summer. I had a series of 12, and then I had some repeats of those dreams in different ways, as if my brain was saying, hey, you didn't get the first time, so I'm going to give it to you again and again and again, with various dreams. Okay. And one dream I know was at least weirdly prophetic, because what occurred in the dream actually had a real life manifestation like 2 months later. But I do want to be clear that when somebody has personal dreams and visions, most of the time they aren't going to be prophetic, although prophetic dreams do occur in the Bible. They occur in numerous places in the Bible, but generally a prophet of God has to interpret those dreams for people, because people aren't good at interpreting them, although that particular dream really did have a real life manifestation, and I think I would have been quite foolish to ignore the fact that what happened in real life was very similar to what happened in the dream, except, you know, dreams have dream reality and dream symbolism. But the extent, like the end and the people involved, were the same. So the end result was the same and the people involved were the same. So I have to say it was weirdly prophetic, and I don't really know why. I don't know that any of my other dreams were, but when we have these personal dreams and revelations, they're considered exactly that, personal revelation. And if they have not been tested by the church, then they are unproven personal revelation. Now, my dreams, I don't think need to be proven by a higher authority, because I don't think they're that important. I don't think that I'm not going to make any major life decisions based off of them. I thought it was fascinating how one of my dreams came to life in reality, but I didn't do anything. I remembered the dream, and perhaps I made decisions based off of that, but, you know, so that the result was what it was supposed to have been. Hi, s'mores. Actually, that was kind of nice with the sunlight filtering in there for a second. Fewer shadows on my face. Wouldn't that be amazing? I really have bad lighting. If I ever really want to invest in making videos, I will probably have to get better lighting, and I will probably have to get a decent mic, because if I ever do have words to my theme song, guess what? I don't have a mic, so the accordion would just cover up my vocals. Although in a lot of the songs I listen to, the norteño songs, the accordion actually acts almost like a call and response to the words of the song. So you listen for those vocal cues, and then you start playing your part, or you play your part, which then cues the vocals. S'mores, you can't climb on me. I have my accordion in my lap. You can't do that. You know you're not supposed to do that. Poor little puppy. No, he can't video bomb me this time, because I have an accordion in my lap, and that would be very bad for my accordion. He knows he's not supposed to jump up on me when I have my accordion. But generally we're in the living room. This is a different context for him. He's probably a little confused. Dogs do get that way. Humans get confused too when things are out of context. It's true. They do. I like to play in my living room. Most of the time I do play in there. I used to play out here in this shed, just so I didn't bother anybody. But like I said, it gets very cold and very hot out here, so it is not a very reasonable place to play a lot of the times. And honestly, you know, extreme temperatures aren't good for accordions. There is beeswax. They're made with beeswax, so very hot temperatures can melt them, and very cold temperatures will warp them. So I at least don't want to store it out here, even though it locks up and all that. I don't want to store it for sure, but I prefer to play in the house where we have temperature controls, you know. We can keep it at 70 degrees most of the year, although that's a little cold in the summer and a little warm in the winter, I would have to say. But anyway, I do prefer the living room because we have this giant front window, and I like looking out the front window as I play. I like to watch cars pass by. However, now that the time, we're back to standard time, of course it's dark by the time I get off work, and I really don't relish looking at my own reflection in the window, or just car headlights passing back and forth. So that's not fun, but what can I do? You can't really do anything about the fact that it's winter. So unfortunately, I'm either going to stare at my reflection or I'm going to close the curtains. Those are my two choices. Yeah. Anyway, where was I going? Oh yes, I wanted to also make clear that so when I talk about personal dreams and visions. They are untested, they are unproven. I'm not going to put them up here like I am a prophet of God. I would never do that. I would never act outside the authority of my church. In fact, a long time ago, when I decided that I thought God was calling me to make apologetic YouTube videos, and I haven't done that, but I have made a step towards perhaps making apologetic YouTube videos. When I felt God was calling me, I actually asked my priest if that was okay, if I could do that. And he said, of course that's all right. He thought that was fine. So at least I know I'm in good standing there. However, I don't ever want to go outside of church teaching on scripture or revelation. Okay, because any revelation that is meant for a broader audience, aside from perhaps me seeing the same Bible verse over and over again, and it's that Isaiah passage about waiting on the Lord. Those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. Okay, I take that quite literally. If I wait on God, He will renew my strength. So I don't think something like that has to be proven. It's pretty direct. It's literal. I don't think it has to be. But Scripture itself is not up to personal interpretation. That's what we were given a church for. And in fact, the church, the Catholic Church, is the one who compiled the canon. And the Catholic Church has a different canon than the Protestants, because when the Protestant Reformation happened, they determined that certain books were not going to be in the canon. And I think Protestants still operate under their individual church authorities. However, they don't tend to go outside their church authority when interpreting scripture and for dogma and doctrine. However, there is a lot more leniency amongst Protestants to argue about points of doctrine. They're just much more lenient about it. In fact, in Protestant Bible studies, you often find people arguing about it. You find that, and then you also find that a lot of Protestants are completely ignorant about the Bible, just like Catholics are. And anybody who's even read the Bible one time is practically a biblical expert. So there's that too. That is part of Protestantism as well as Catholicism. Christians really need to read their Bibles and know it better. And they also need to know what their church teaching is. And like I said, I am under the authority of the Catholic Church because I'm Catholic, and I trust because they have been around for centuries and have quite literally compiled the scriptures and translated them and into numerous languages. I trust that they have a correct interpretation. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm definitely not going to come on here and contradict church teaching, even if there are church teachings that I scratch my head at and wonder why. I think that is just human. When we place ourselves under an earthly authority, we are actually, I don't know how to put this, but we accept it on one level, even if we question it on another level. So we might say, I don't know about this. This just seems strange to me. I don't understand this. I don't understand this teaching. I don't understand this part of the Bible. And we go to the catechism, or we ask our priest and we ask, well, what is church doctrine regarding this? And we accept it even though we still have questions about it, if you understand what I'm saying. It doesn't become something that we want to say, well, I don't agree with this, and so I'm going to go start my own church. There's a difference there. I think that human beings are, we're intelligent creatures, some more than others, and we're thinking creatures, and we are research oriented. We search things out. We have curiosity, some of us do, and we want to question what we're handed, and that's a good thing. But when we place ourselves under an authority, then we accept that authority regardless of what we may question. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. regarding that. I don't think I meant to go down that tangent anyway. So, tangents that I've covered so far. Let's see. Dragonflies, dragonfly dreams, my song, my theme song, my kind of silly theme song called The Flight of the Dragonflies. Yeah, I'm going to write some words maybe. I'll think about it. We'll see what comes into my head in the following week for beautiful, beautiful lyrics to my theme song. Yes. So one of the biggest problems I have in life is that I want to do too much. I've already said this. I have so many hobbies. I'm the Jill of all trades, or the Jack of all trades, if you really want to call, want it to be a male who's a Jack, who can do a little bit in every little dabbling area. And so this is why I'm not sure I want to even delve into apologetics. Gosh, I feel like when I moved this over, like the light. Okay, so because this stupid ring light I bought is just too small, I have this other like little white light that came with some camera at some point. Okay, so I put that one on. I feel like it's staring me right in the face. I don't know if this is improving my lighting or not. I don't want to do a lot of altering, filters and altering, because it just makes it look funny. Like with my last video, I'd added some brightness and it was so yellow, and it really did look yellow. It didn't look like that when I was filming, but it looked like that afterwards. I don't know about right now because I have these two bright white lights staring me in the face. I'm not sure I like that very much, and I do think that it casts shadows. Anyway, that has to do with being a Jill of all trades. And yes, about apologetics. So I really one of the reasons why I never started doing those videos is I don't have time to prepare in-depth apologetic videos, and that's what I would want to do. So I told God that if he wanted me to do that, he would have to give me the content, because I just didn't have the time. And of course, God wants me to do the work, so he's not going to just like open up my brain and drop information in there and say, here, Jill, here's your apologetics. Go ahead and make those videos that I want you to make. No, that's not what happens. And so I do too many things, and that's why I'm only like sort of good at the accordion and like a half good singer, and I'm going to say a half good actor. I don't really even do acting, but I have played some parts, and I was reminded of that because I kind of cast it off when I was trying to readjust myself with my accordion sitting in this chair because of the stupid arms. I want to be able to open the bellows. Anyway, so I had this blanket on my lap like a little old lady, and at one time I had played a blind old lady when I was in high school, and I wasn't really an old lady. Like now I'm kind of an old lady. I mean, I'm not as old as some old ladies, but I'm not exactly young anymore either. So when I was in high school, I played this blind grandma, Heidi's blind grandma, and my entire part was sitting in a rocking chair. I had to do a little walking across the stage to get in the rocking chair. I honestly just do not remember. I do remember having to pretend to be blind, so maybe I did walk pretending to be blind, kind of weird when you have sight and you're pretending to be blind. It's just a different way of examining the world. Anyway, so I wore this little blanket around my legs, and I talked like an old lady, and I had all this fancy old lady makeup, and I had these monologues I had to memorize, and that was the biggest part of my role. I was not obviously main character like Heidi or the grandpa or Peter, but I had to memorize these big long monologues about my life, telling Heidi all about my life in these big chunks. So yeah, it was kind of a weird character, because you think, well, there's not that much to memorize. I only have a couple of scenes, but oh my goodness, these monologues were really long. Though that was a bit tough. But anyway, so it's this little lady with a blanket on my lap. Well, that's what I was just a little bit earlier, because I was cold. So I came out here with my hot coffee, which is mostly drunk and not really hot anymore. I just forgot it was sitting there. And I cast the blanket aside because I couldn't really open the bellows very well. I just felt constrained. Yes, too constrained. But anyway, yes, I'm not sure if my Jill of all trades is very useful, acting, singing, playing the accordion, but I have pondered that, and I have done a lot of housewife things. So, I mean, if I were called to do something that was outside the sort of housewife skill set, like fixing a car because I had to and I was forced to, I suppose I would. I prefer, I'm pretty sexist. I prefer to stay in my more feminine roles. I mean, I really honestly do, but so I have, gardened and canned, and I used to make yogurt and kefir and all kinds of things like that. I made homemade soap and lotion and laundry detergent. And why did I do all this? I don't know, because I wanted to have healthy, cheap alternatives to the products on the shelves. And I actually enjoyed it. It was fun. I made yogurt for years because I liked it. Like, you could get like an entire gallon of yogurt. Yeah, I used to have 4 kids in the house. I don't anymore. But I used to be able to make a whole gallon of yogurt for what it would cost to buy a quart of yogurt. And I liked that. And I could also control my ingredients. And I had it down to a science with, I used a slow cooker, and I had it down to a science. So that slow cooker broke and I stopped making yogurt, but then I didn't, my kids, most of them are out of the house. So why would I make a gallon of yogurt anymore? I'm not going to have like everybody eating yogurt. Anyway, yes, my kids did, because we didn't really have a lot of food in the house. We didn't have junk food. We had like beans and rice and yogurt and homemade tortillas and things like that. That's what we ate. And yeah, sour cream, salsa, and cheese really dresses up those beans pretty well. My favorite is chopped onion and cilantro. I love that. That's great. That's my favorite. My favorite vegetables are onions and cilantro. And for certain styles of food. In other styles of food, my favorite vegetables are pickles and onions. Pickles aren't really even a vegetable, are they? They're fruit because they have seeds. Okay, but that's really way off track. Yes, I was talking about my sexist Jill of all trades. So I did a lot of housewifey things. I'm not very good at like sewing and mending, but I did do that if I had to, you would have kids who would come, how kids do, and then you're like, okay, I'll fix it, and then you have to go and fix it. And I've actually had to do things like fix the washing machine when it broke, because I didn't, like, you could call a repairman, but like they're all not available on weekends, and so how are you supposed to get the stupid washing machine fixed? And you need to do laundry, so what are you gonna do? You're just gonna fix it. So I mean, I have done stuff like that, but generally I'm not the heavy lifter. There's not a lot that I won't try to do, attempt to do at least, because it's part of being the do-it-yourselfer club. But I prefer not to do those things that are traditionally masculine. I know. Gosh, I'm such a sexist. I really am. It's terrible. Yes. So anyway, I was thinking a lot last night, because I probably heard somebody say it, that if you're not seeing results in life, then you're operating off of your own strength instead of relying on God. What do you think about that statement? And what do you think it means to rely on God instead of operating on your own strength? I'm actually just really curious, because I don't really know what that means, because God is not a tangible being. It's not like he's going to reach down with his big bicep. Speaking of heavy lifting and having men do the heavy lifting, well, God certainly isn't going to reach down with his biceps and do the heavy lifting for us. So what does it mean to rely on God instead of our own strength? I'm not really sure, to be honest. Because if you sit around and do nothing, nothing's going to happen. And if you try to do everything yourself, that's the accusation. Well, you're operating off of your own strength. Well, who else is going to do it? I think what's meant by that is that we are supposed to surrender what we're doing to God and pray about it before we do it. But if we sit around and do nothing, guess what? Nothing happens, because God is not going to do our jobs for us, just like he's not going to open up my head and drop in the complex apologetic arguments in there. He's not going to do that. So I often wonder what people mean, and I think that Christians are looking for reasons why people are not successful at what they do, why they don't seem to achieve what they set out to achieve. And so they're looking for reasons. And one of those reasons they often give is, well, you're operating off of your own strength instead of God's strength. But if you are surrendering it to God and you're praying to God, then I don't think you're operating off of your own strength. You're giving it over to him, surrendering it to his will and his purpose. And I don't know what else you can do, because then if you sit around and you wait for inspiration, you wait for God to direct you, like give you directions and tell you exactly what to do, what will Christians say? Well, say, well, you need to take a step of faith, because you can't just sit around. You have to do the work. Yes, you do. You have to be a hard worker in order to achieve anything in life. And that's no different for Christians than for the rest of the world. We have to step out in faith and actually do the work. I think that when we operate in God's strength, we're just, like I already said, we're surrendering it to him. And what happens when we take steps of faith? Well, we're often still not successful by world standards. So what then? Well, then Christians will often come up with, well, it has to be in his timing. It's his timing, not our timing. Like we want to achieve, we want to work this much, and then achieve success. And that's our timing, but God's timing is different from ours. And that's true. It is. And I guess it's a good enough answer, a little ambiguous, because nobody knows what God's timing is. So you can sort of hide away in that, and say, well, I'm still doing what I'm supposed to be doing, so eventually I will achieve a success in God's timing. And then, of course, there's the Christian response of, well, you're not acting in his will, so this isn't working for you, so this must not be his will or his purpose. I mean, any of those could be true, I guess. But what do I think is true? I think that we cannot expect to have worldly success. I think that we have that expectation, and when we don't achieve it, then we come up with excuses, or other Christians come up with excuses, because other Christians get ideas in their head. Well, if it's not working for you, then it must not be in God's will. Well, if it's not working for you, then the timing's not right, or you're trying to do it out of your own strength, and all, etc., or you're not stepping out in faith, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you need to listen to God. But that's with the assumption that we will have worldly success. But what if God does not want to give us worldly success? What if in his wisdom, his idea of success is completely different, and he wants us to be aligned with his will, he wants us to do the work, but he has a completely different purpose in mind? What could that possibly be? I don't know. There could be any number of purposes. I think about saints of the past who lived in basic poverty, but God always provided their needs. So they were operating in his will, doing what God wanted. These saints were doing what God wanted them to do, but they didn't always achieve worldly success doing that. In fact, poverty is actually good for humans, because it forces us to rely on God, and it also forces us to be more generous and ingenious, honestly, because where there's a need, we work to fix that need. We are so wealthy. We are so wealthy in Western nations. We just don't really even understand the concept of deprivation. And I think that's why a lot of people do fasting, because fasting is forced deprivation that should help us to align our souls back with God and rely on him instead of all of our plenty, because we do have it. We have plenty. We have a lot in Western nations. That doesn't mean we will always have a lot. Anything could happen. Something could happen to the crops next year and we could not have any food. Some of what I see when I see empty store shelves, I think that this is kind of, this is not natural, and it's almost like forced deprivation by the government and corporations. I mean, we all remember the whole toilet paper problems with getting toilet paper during COVID, but that's partly because people went and bought it all out. And then, of course, there were shipping problems. The government creates shipping problems. They create those problems. Anyway, but all that is to say, whoever is causing the problem, we could have deprivation. We could have that tomorrow. I mean, something could go catastrophically wrong today and we could have nothing tomorrow. And we would have to be, guess what? We'd have to be Jack or Jill of all trades. We would have to learn how to survive without. Anyway, we would have to learn to rely on God again. That's very important. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking about, because when I hear that, I always wonder what people mean, because it's frustrating to me. I think humans are like this. People operate off of tangibles. They don't operate off of intangibles. So when somebody says, gosh, you need to rely on God's strength because you're not doing that. Well, how am I supposed to rely on God's strength? It just doesn't make any sense, really. So I kind of still have that question, aside from giving it over in prayer. I don't really know what people mean. And maybe you do. Maybe you can answer that question for me. Maybe you can answer what it really means to truly rely on God and not on ourselves. Because I honestly don't quite understand. God is a being, and he's not physical. I mean, he was when he came as Jesus Christ to the world. But then he died and he went back up to be with his Father. He died and was resurrected and went back up to be with his Father in heaven. I'm just thinking it through. It's kind of just a mind bender to me. Like, I guess faith itself is a mind bender. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say today. I've done enough rambling, I think. My eyes are just about ready to bug out of my face with these bright lights. I suppose that's what it's like to be on camera. I mean, I do remember being in plays. Oh, speaking of, I said I will. If I didn't say it, I was thinking it, that playing the blind grandma was not my finest moment. But hi, s'mores. He opened the door. He didn't come in. Is he gonna come in? That is s'mores. Yes, it's definitely s'mores. Okay. So I was thinking about the finest moment that I had, and that was playing Mrs. Malaprop. Mrs. Malaprop in The Rivals. Yes, that is an 18th century play. I would really like to find, I used to have a book copy of it, but I don't think it came with me to Roswell. I think it was in a book of Restoration era plays. Restoration meaning after the crown was restored in England. Okay, so before that, when the Puritans were in charge, Cromwell, and his regime, they had outlawed theater because theater was evil. And so after the crown was restored, theater was also restored, and there were some amazing plays that came out, some amazing comedy. And Richard, it's like Richard Brinley Sheridan or Richard something Sheridan. Anyway, I know the Sheridan is correct. I don't remember what his middle name is. Anyway, he wrote some great comedic plays, including The Rivals with Mrs. Malaprop. And if the Puritans had stayed in charge, guess what? We wouldn't have something called malapropisms unless we had underground theater, which very well might have happened. Anyway, this is why I am not a Puritan and I'm not in the Reformed camp, because gosh, getting rid of comedic theater. That's just terrible. Anyway, Mrs. Malapropisms, making a malaprop is using a word incorrectly. And this is why I loved playing this character, because she's like this older woman with these pretensions to being educated and intelligent and part of the elite upper class, but she's really not. She uses all these words incorrectly, and like, I think she, gosh, okay, so I'm gonna say that there's like her niece is in love with this man, and she tells him that she shouldn't be, and the lady says, well, I can't stop thinking about her, or something like that, and she tells her that, well, it's not proper for a young lady to think, and she uses the word illiterate incorrectly there. It's just really ironic and funny. I'm gonna see if I can find it so that I can post it in a video, because that would be hilarious. Mrs. Malaprop is wonderful. And yes, so if you could find a copy somewhere, I'm sure there's a theater company that has done The Rivals, because it's really funny. And that's my finest moment, when I played Mrs. Malaprop, when I was getting my college degree. So this Jill of all trades made a really great malaprop. Maybe not the best, but I still think I was pretty good at Mrs. Malaprop. I think that was my finest character. So yeah. By the way, what I have spent most of my time doing is writing my books. And that's one thing where I put in the work, I've taken the steps of faith, I've done it all, and I have not achieved any success. Sometimes I'm like, God, please give me a marketing plan, because that would be great. I could really use a marketing plan. So maybe I'll answer that question someday. I don't know how to market books. I never thought I would be a self-publisher. I mean, yeah, I am a do-it-yourselfer, but there's a limit to what I want to do. And I never thought that would happen, but you could sort of see it looming on the horizon when I was young. You could see that the self-publishing market was growing. And then when Amazon came around, of course, it exploded. And, you know, the whole publishing landscape changed. And I think that some people really rode that to success, and other people like myself just did not know what to do, did not know how to market myself. I'm not good at representing myself. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not. It's like my lowest skill set. I have the IQ of a monkey when it comes to marketing. I don't know how to reach people. People are weird. How? I don't understand. I don't. I mean, I guess I could try to make an analysis of it, but whenever I do that, I always get it wrong. I always get that wrong. I don't know. But the best I can do is to make these videos, which have nothing to do with my book, and especially when I play my accordion, and yeah, but I'm going to put links, I always put links to my Amazon page, where my books that have already been published, they're there waiting if you like to read them. I recommend Order the Pentragon, because it's my Roswell alien novel. I really do recommend that one. And The Miniverse is an Albuquerque, a comedic, near future Albuquerque world. So I do recommend that one too, if you like. But my next series will be a entirely Roswell series, and hopefully I'll be able to maintain that. When it comes out, you'll see that it has a Roswell book cover artist, a Roswell editor, and me, a Roswell writer, and it takes place in Roswell. It's going to be a very Roswell effort, much more than that show Roswell High. I think there were a couple of shows like that about Roswell that weren't even really filmed in Roswell, and no, those were not good Roswell efforts. No, but my book, yes, my whole series is going to be very Roswell in nature. So I am still aiming for December 10th as my publication date now, because November has passed me by. I don't have it back from my editor, and I've actually been thinking about things that I should probably change in the book. Nothing major, just little things here and there that I should change, so we'll see. And yes, so that's my projected date. See, that's how bad a marketer I am. I can't even keep to a projected date. Hopefully that will change as I go forward and work on the next book. Okay, that's all I have for you. Remember, my book is called Delivering Hope. My name is Jill Domschott, and like I said, you can find the links in the description to my blog and to my Amazon page. That's all I have to say. Have a wonderful Sunday. I would like to do something before the Sunday's over, like go for a walk or take a nap instead of staring at this camera. That's why I'm going to have to stop this video, and my stupid remote control hasn't been working, and I just dropped it on the floor anyway. So goodbye, have a great day.